Well, welcome everybody to Networking for Introverts. I'm Sabrina Schottenhamel, your host, and today is June 19th, 2024, and it looks like we have a pretty good group today. I'm so thrilled that you're all here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your summer day to be here and learn, and we have a guest speaker, so I'm super excited about that. But before we dive into the guest speaker, and let's see. Oh, you're having some issues? Okay. Yeah, if you need to turn off your camera, that's fine, Angela. Because sometimes I think, having your camera off helps with the connection issues. So before we get started with our topic, we're going to go around the room and say your name, where you're from, and something interesting or some kind of a fun fact about yourself. So I'll start and then I'll just go around the room. I'm Sabrina, obviously your host, and I live in the western suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. Something interesting about me is I love, love, love to dance, and I love the heat of the summer. So it's 90 degrees today. I love this weather. Jill, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Not too much because I'll be introducing you in a minute.
Yeah, no worries. So my name's Jill Golledge. I live in the UK, not too far from London. And an interesting fact about me is that I absolutely love horse riding, and that is one of my self-care go-tos for bringing up my energy levels.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Dorian, you're next up on my list.
I'm Dorian Watson. I'm from Lynchburg, Virginia. And an interesting fact about me, I love NFL football.
All right, nice. That's awesome. Okay, let's go to Nicole. You're up next.
Okay, my name is Nicole. I live in the south suburbs of Chicago, and I too love summer. I love the heat as well. There's endless possibilities. However, I really don't like the cicadas. They creep me out, so I have not been going outside.
I know I've been hibernating, which I don't like to do, but like I have not been on my bike. I haven't been walking, and I'm
Yeah,
really upset because I don't like those creepy guys when they land on your shoulder and you're like,
no,
oh,
I know. I scream like a little girl when they land on me.
I do too. And they thankfully they don't hurt you, but they're just so
Right.
creepy. And yeah, I scream like a little girl too. And I realized this morning when I was putting the shoes, I went to a summer concert last night in the park. And they're kind of dying down now. So we would see a few flying around, no big deal. And I went to put my shoes away into the closet this morning that I was wearing last night. There was a cicada sitting on my shoe all night
Oh,
long. I'm like,
oh.
how did I how did I miss that? Oh my
At least it
God.
didn't follow you into your bed.
I know. Like, or wake me up in the middle of the night, like, I
Yeah.
mean it since they're kind of dying off, he was like very obviously he was very he was almost dead. So when I threw my shoe out onto the balcony, he just was like, "Ugh."
Okay.
I've tried trying to Google what they are, but I don't know how you spell it.
Oh, they're like a locust. Do you know what locusts are?
Ah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
they're like they're not that big. They're
Ooh.
like this big.
Pretty creepy if they land on you though, right?
Creepy. And so they almost look like what is
They look
the
like large flies almost with
yeah,
huge wings and beady red eyes.
beady eyes. Ew.
Ew.
But,
Not
um
nice.
Extremely loud.
sometimes
So
sometimes
loud.
they look like what are those little creepy guys that live more in like warmer climates? Um I can't think of what they're called. Anyway. Anyway,
Are you
they're
thinking of Katie did?
Katie,
Okay.
Or Katie did maybe?
I don't know.
I
I'm
have
not
those. Do you have Katie did?
Not quite, not quite, but they are loud. They scream at you. They're very
Yeah.
angry.
I
Oh.
think they're. I like them. I'm weird, I guess, but I think they're cool. I always wanted to see it. They had Jill. They had a big outbreak this year, like once in every how many years.
200 some years, yeah.
yeah.
Oh
So I
wow.
see that so much, but we didn't.
Oh.
But see, Angela likes nature a lot more than I do.
Yes, to a certain extent, but I have had a snake around my house and he's scaring me. So
Saw that.
I
Ew.
draw the line there.
And you said it's a
Oh.
rattler, right?
Oh, a rat snake. They're harmless.
Oh, okay.
Claim they're
Okay.
harmless, but if they give you a heart attack, they're deadly. So yeah, to
Sure.
me, a snake, I don't care if it's venomous or not. They're scary.
Yeah, you're right. Well, let's go to you, Angela, and you can tell everybody where you live with snakes.
Oh yeah. So I'm in Arkansas and Fort Smith, Arkansas. I'm also a horse person, Jill.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I think one of
Excellent.
my friends contacted me and she said, Angela, you need to get back into showing. So I may. Yeah.
Excellent.
My thing, I love Bible study and I guess, yeah, I'm a gardener. So I just came in. I was like, whew, it is hot here.
Yeah.
Working in the garden.
Yeah. Do you guys have a lot of humidity, Angela?
Yes, I don't know what it is right now, but I thought I was curious to see how warm it is here because we're, obviously south of you, but we're just 85, but it's very muggy.
Pretty humid, yeah.
Are you muggy?
We're in the 90s. It's kind of muggy, yeah. Yeah.
I always struggle with the light. And so anyway, this is like my light. If I don't have the light on, this little thing over here, then it's kind of like creepy looking.
Yeah, your face is
I
Yeah, I
can't
would
ever get it right. So I was like, oh, well, whatever.
yeah, turn it on. That's good.
Okay.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for introducing yourselves. I'm going to ask that you mute yourselves so that there's no distractions during Jill's presentation. So I will introduce her and then she's going to do her thing. And then we're going to open it up for feedback and questions and, anything you want to discuss. And then we'll go from there. So Jill Golledge we actually met through LinkedIn. And I believe we met because of the algorithm saying, when she posts about introverted leaders, I do the same thing. So they connected us.
Yeah.
Jill is a dedicated leadership coach who specializes in empowering introverted female leaders to thrive in an extroverted world. With a profound understanding of the unique challenges faced by introverted women in leadership roles, Jill is committed to helping them unlock their full potential so they can lead with confidence, passion, and authenticity. Please help me welcome Jill. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. So obviously today I'm going to be talking about that kind of gut instinct and how you can kind of rely on that a bit more, because what I've kind of noticed with quite a few of my clients is that they kind of really do struggle with listening to their gut instinct, and that can then lead them to really struggle to trust in their own decisions and their own judgment a little bit. And what they then tend to do is they kind of ask other people for advice. And in doing so, they kind of get a bit confused about which way to go, because although, they had maybe an idea of which road they wanted to take, but they weren't sure about it. And then as soon as they've got kind of more information from someone else, it could be the opposite to what they were thinking. And so therefore, you just kind of get into this sort of overthinking, procrastinating, all of those things that us introverts are very good at doing. And then either not making a decision or making a decision based on somebody else's point of view rather than their own, just because of perhaps they might be suffering with kind of those low self-confidence issues, or something like that really. Whereas, of course, that gut instinct is that kind of feeling that we get in the pit of our stomach, about, especially if something isn't quite right, but we're not really sure what it is, you kind of get that feeling. And I'm sure everyone has had it at some point, and you may well have kind of had that feeling, not really given it too much of your time or thought. And then you've kind of just gone ahead with whatever that situation is, as kind of unraveled that you are in. And you've then kind of realized at the end of it that you were right to have that strange feeling, but you kind of then wish that you'd thought about it a bit more and listened to that. And I'm sure we've all done that in the past. I know I've done that a lot in the past as well. But actually, if you can really sort of take that step back and listen to what your gut's telling you, you know, you can be in a better situation basically at the end of it. So it's kind of that inner voice that sort of guides us to make those kind of right decisions, because it's based on our kind of values and our beliefs, rather than, you know, other people. So when you start asking other people for advice, they're giving you that advice based on their own values and their own beliefs, which could be very different from yours. You know, people have different experiences from each other. So therefore their kind of take on something could be quite different to yours. So that's where that kind of tugging and toing and throwing comes from, if you like, because it doesn't quite sit right with you, because you don't quite understand maybe their point of view or their opinion, and it doesn't quite sit with yours. But and that's where that kind of indecision comes from. So in terms of leadership, of course, it's a vital kind of tool, really, because it helps to really sort of navigate us through those kind of complex situations that we might find ourselves in. And also it kind of helps us to understand sort of those team dynamics a bit more as well, because if you're more in tune with your kind of instincts, you're actually more in tune with your emotions as well. And by being more in tune with your own emotions, it helps you to be more in tune with other people, so kind of your team and that you might be leading. And it just helps you, as I say, to make those decisions based on your own values. So where this has kind of helped me in terms of setting up my business and where I'm at now. So my background actually is in forensic science, and I've been a forensic scientist for many years. And back in sort of 2019, I was feeling quite undervalued in my role. I was feeling quite stressed out. I had a lot of work. I started to feel like I was quite undervalued, overlooked for promotion opportunities, and I was really struggling to kind of concentrate in that open plan environment. And many of you might have felt similarly. You know, when you're working in those kind of large organizations, you tend to find they're more set up for more extroverted people who quite like to be in those open plan situations where they can bounce ideas off of each other. Whereas, you know, for those who have more of an introverted preference, it can be, you know, not conducive to your kind of focus work and concentrating. So I kind of knew that something wasn't quite right. I felt quite low in my self-confidence. So I was second guessing my work. I was asking lots of other people advice, and I was procrastinating a lot because I wasn't sure kind of what decision to make. So what I actually did is sort of took that step back, and I knew that there was, you know, I had that feeling in the pit of my stomach, something's not quite right. So what's going on? So I kind of sat down and I kind of asked myself some key questions, really. So if you think about it in terms of listening to that gut instinct, as introverts should actually be quite good at that, because we like that kind of introspective time, that time on our own to really think things through. And so what I did is I kind of asked myself a few questions. So how did I kind of feel about my current role? And I was sort of thinking, I feel quite stressed. I feel a bit unsettled, like a bit stale in my role. I feel like I need to do something else. I kind of asked myself what was missing. So for me, it was like having that autonomy, being able to work from home a bit more, you know, and getting away from that kind of loud open plan office environment. And then I kind of asked myself, right, what do I need? And what I needed was to get that passion back again. You know, I'd been in my role for kind of 7 or 8 years, but been in forensic science for quite a long time. And it was something I was always really passionate about, but that was kind of getting a bit lost. So then I kind of thought, well, how can I get that passion back? And I came to the conclusion that I kind of needed to get out of that environment for a little while to just kind of see what I wanted to do, really. So what I did is I kind of went for a secondment at work, a 6-month secondment, which was for facilitating a leadership training program, and part of that was coaching as well. And in doing that secondment, what I actually got from that is I'd sort of I'd got that passion back. I always had a passion for developing people anyway. So sort of learning a new skill in terms of facilitating, but also coaching as well. You know, I hadn't really heard of coaching much at that point. I'd certainly never had coaching myself. And I, you know, straight away, I felt like I could see the value that people were getting from that coaching. You could see people having those sort of light bulb moments when they actually took the time to think about their sort of self-development and where they wanted to be and kind of where they were, you know, now sort of thing. And so as I say, I've got that passion back. I kind of felt like I had a purpose again. And I was able to work from home. I was completely working from home all the time. I wasn't going into the office. I did go in and facilitate the course, which again was good for me, standing up, speaking to people, presenting, which I knew I needed to kind of develop a bit more. And basically what came out of that whole secondment was that I kind of came back to my working environment again, but I came back with that passion of, right, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. I want to do coaching. I've really enjoyed it. That passion's come back. I want to learn more again. Whereas before I'd kind of resigned myself almost to, well, this is what I'll be doing for the rest of my life kind of thing, not really thinking about what else I could do or what other opportunities were kind of open to me. So, you know, I was feeling a lot happier. They were treating me more like an adult. You know, I was kind of in charge of my own time. And I was more present with my family. Before, I was quite stressed out, you know, didn't feel like I was really present with them, quite grumpy, tired, exhausted, overwhelmed a lot of the time. So I was less stressed, less anxious. I felt much more empowered to want to do something different and feel that passion again and learn. I had that real desire for learning. So the kind of unexpected outcome from listening to that gut instinct and asking those questions and actually getting out of that situation for a while was me starting my own business. You know, that was something I never, ever considered before. But yet, having listened to that gut instinct and then that opening up that opportunity for me, you know, was just, amazing. I get to do something that I absolutely love doing on a daily basis and helping other people. So that's kind of where my business came from. You know, I'm an introvert myself. I've been in those large organizations that are geared up for more extroverted personalities. And what I wanted to do is to kind of really help those more introverted female leaders or those aspiring to be leaders to kind of get that self-confidence to move into their kind of dream role if it is leadership that they want to go into. And what I found is that a lot of women were kind of, you know, comparing themselves to perhaps their peers who, you know, if you think about in businesses, when you there's a real bias around what a leader looks like, which tends to be those more extroverted individuals, those more outspoken people who can kind of command a room and assert their assert themselves a bit more effectively. So, you know, I could really see that businesses were losing out on this opportunity to utilize the skills that introverts have, because effectively we make amazing leaders because we are more empathetic. You know, we want to get to know our team on a one-to-one level. And we want to support them to develop themselves rather than kind of being the center of all the attention, which perhaps those more extroverted leaders want to be. They want to put themselves first and really drive their career forwards rather than wanting to develop their team. So yeah, that's where my gut instinct has led me. And had I not kind of listened to that and trusted those sort of that feeling and those thoughts that I was having, then, you know, I'd probably still be working in the same role, resigned to being there till retirement, not particularly enjoying it, not really looking forward to getting up and going to work every day. And potentially, you know, I would have been burnt out and suffering mental ill health with anxiety, etc., just because of the levels of work that I was under and the pressure that I was under. So now to kind of see a future filled with, having that purpose, knowing where I want to go and what I want to do. And being sort of a true role model as well to my children, because I want them to see that if you put your mind to something, you can do anything. Because as I say, before that, I would never have ever thought of starting my own business and going down this road. So by really kind of, listening to that gut instinct, you can do whatever you want to do and put your mind to it, you can get there. So yeah, if you think you don't have the confidence to be a leader or to land your dream job, where not only you can feel confident and have belief in your decisions, that's completely wrong. Listen to that gut instinct. Really take that step back and ask yourself those questions. And then you won't miss out on those opportunities that could come your way effectively. But I think the main sort of problem that we have as introverts, the one thing that kind of stops us almost, is that we overthink things a lot. So that can get in the way of us listening to our gut instinct. And what it does is leaves us feeling a bit anxious rather than having those kind of calm thoughts, if you like. And so that's the kind of big barrier that we need to get over, is that overthinking, stopping that overthinking mind, and then procrastinating around, I should do this or I should do that, but instead I'm going to busy myself with something else because that sort of task feels too big, if you like. So I'd say that was probably one of my top tips, is just taking that time to really sit down and reflect on a decision or whatever it is that you're, if you've got to make a decision on something, ask yourself those questions, really sit down and try and figure out where that feeling's coming from, rather than just kind of brushing it off and not really giving it too much thought. Give that a bit more thought, and sort of tune into how your body's feeling as well. So it's not just about that kind of feeling in the pit of your stomach. What emotions is that bringing up for you? And sort of trying to really figure out where it's coming from, because that's going to help you to make that decision. And another question you might want to ask yourself is, how would I feel? So if you're kind of flitting between two decisions, perhaps, how would I feel if I made one decision over another? That's quite a good way of kind of determining which way to go. And I think, again, a lot of introverts, perhaps what they do is, because they're struggling to make that decision, they might have asked other people, they're getting a bit confused, they're overthinking things, they're thinking of what could happen, what the worst case scenario, what other people are going to think of me if I make this decision over this decision, and they get caught in that thinking process. And so what you need to do is just kind of take that step back and really ask yourself those questions to get clarity on, what is it that I think, what is it that I feel, and how would I feel if I made one decision over the other, rather than not making a decision. Because I think that's what happens a lot as well, is people think, I can't make a decision, I'll leave it to fate and see what happens. If I leave it long enough, the decision's almost going to be made for me because I'll run out of time, for example. But actually doing that, you're making the decision not to make a decision, if that makes sense. So yeah, don't leave it to fate. Literally just listen to yourself, take that step back. And a good way of doing that is to have that quiet time to sort of really journal your thoughts and your answers to those questions. Meditation is another good one. You don't have to meditate for a long period of time. You can find sort of guided meditations online that are 5-10 minutes long, and that's how you're going to quieten down that overthinking mind a little bit, by just taking that step back and slowing down a little bit, I think, is the main point, rather than not giving it too much thought and then realizing, I was right in having that thought. I should have given it more time. But yeah. Any questions?
Oh, wonderful. I love your story about how you used to work in forensic scientists, or as a forensic scientist, you're still kind of doing that part-time, right?
I am. I'm not in that particular role. I've got a promotion now into another role, but I am doing that at the moment until my business gets to that stage where I can leave, and that will be the best day ever when I can hand my notice in and go, yay, see you later.
Yeah, wonderful. So
Yeah.
the things that I like, a few keywords that I took away from this are, obviously follow your gut instinct and, doing the journaling, the meditation. I do praying or prayer. I go to the word. But some of the words that you were saying were, ask yourself questions, good questions, and reflect upon those so that you can really just determine, which way to go, which path to go.
Yeah.
And by following that instinct, you will feel that you have purpose and you'll enjoy your day so you have passion. And you mentioned your kids, and also your followers too, and your clients, to be a good role model.
Yeah.
Starting your own business as an introvert is not an easy thing because,
No.
you have to talk to people, you have to promote yourself. And when I first started my business, it was very scary when I joined a networking group and I had to go and share about myself. The only thing that made me really comfortable was my dad was a part of the group too. So
Oh,
yeah, so when I worked at a spa as a massage therapist, and then when I left there right after I got married 17 years ago, I joined this networking group. I knew I was going to eventually join the group, but yeah, it was so scary to talk, for even 1 to 2 minutes around a big long table and just
yeah.
share who I am and what I do. But it really worked
Yeah.
because I got a lot of referrals from that group. And from there, then eventually I kept doing more personal development and professional development. I eventually joined Toastmasters, which was the main organization that helped me to overcome my fears of public speaking. And now I absolutely love speaking and running these kind of groups, whether they're in person or online. So, jumping into my own business with 2 feet was very, very scary. But I did
Yeah.
listen to my gut because at the time, like I said, I had just gotten married. Maybe 6 months prior, I bought my condo, and there was a lot of changes going on, but it was like, I need to do this. Like, I don't want to answer to anybody anymore. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I feel really good in my body about making this full decision. And I did, and I'm celebrating 17 years next month in my own business. So it's pretty cool.
Brilliant. It
Yeah.
is cool. Yeah. And you're right. Like having that, listening to that gut instinct is, you feel happier about making those decisions, like you said, because they are in line with your values and your purpose and your vision of where you want to go. So, whereas if you're not listening to that gut instinct and you're listening to other people, you could still feel quite uneasy about a decision. Or, as I said, you might not make a decision because you're sort of thinking, oh, you've got that fear of making the wrong decision. But actually, as I said, you don't want to not make a decision, because if you actually decide one way or the other, right, I'm going to go down this path, and you start going down that path and you think, this is not right, I shouldn't have done this, you can very quickly then go, right, now I know that's the right path to take, and you start going down that. But if you sit overthinking it too much and you end up not taking either path, how are you going to know which is the right one? Does that make sense? So actually starting to move towards something is going to help you work out pretty quickly whether it's the right decision or not. And quite a good analogy for this is thinking about driving your car in a really dark road at night, and you've got your headlights on, and you can see like a few feet in front of the car, but you can't see any further. But if you start driving, the next bit of the road becomes visible, and the next bit. So as you keep moving, you start seeing more of the road. But if you didn't move, you don't know what's ahead of you, right? So I think that's a really good analogy to be thinking, right? You've just got to make a decision one way or the other, start moving towards it, and then you'll find out if it's the right one or not.
Yeah. Yeah. The movement helps with, yeah, making decisions and right, finding which path is right for you. So yeah, that's what I like that analogy. It's kind of the analogy of, I don't see the stairs, but I take the first step anyway, because
Yeah.
then you see the next step and the next step and the next step, and it just
Yeah.
goes from there. So yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So I will open up the room for questions or feedback. Maybe you have something that really stood out to you that you're going to take away from today. So if Dorian, you want to start with a question or some feedback?
Yeah, I really liked when you said overthinking interferes with your instinct, and that's what leads to procrastination. Experiencing that right now, with a particular project that I'm trying to get going, but just overthinking it way too much. And yeah, it's completely leading to procrastination. And I like these tips that you gave about asking how would you feel if you made decision A versus decision B. I think that's going to be really, very helpful in processing how I want to move forward. And yeah, this analogy that you gave too about the car, that's very helpful too. Just do something so that you can get that perspective in a different place. And so thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Great, thank you.
Good.
Nicole,
As I say again, like writing those thoughts down as well and journaling those thoughts to really get, I think we get with that overthinking, we clutter our mind with all these thoughts, right? I don't know how you feel, but you kind of feel like there's so much going on in your mind that you can't think straight, right? But the only way to stop that happening is to get them thoughts out of your mind onto a bit of paper, is what I find. Or if you're more digital, then type it out. Because that's how you're going to get that clarity. You're going to stop that clutter that's going on in your mind. And once you've written it all out, that's when you can kind of review it and try to make a bit of sense of where them thoughts are coming from and where those anxieties perhaps are coming from. And that's then going to help you to just kind of make that decision.
Nicole?
Yes, I do suffer from the overanalysis paralysis, and same thing. I'm stuck in the middle of it right now with a few of my projects, and I think it would make my life so much easier and have less anxiety if I just made a call on it and stop going back and forth and questioning my pathways and just pick a path and commit to it.
And as I say, like if you find that you're going down one route and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel right, this isn't the right way of doing it, I should have gone the other way, nothing is going to stop you from going, actually, right, okay, I'm going to leave that there and we're going to go this way instead because this is the better way. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Nothing can be undone, if that makes sense, and then it's just going to get you to that place of the right decision much quicker rather than just thinking about it too much.
Yeah, very good. Angela, you have anything that you want to share?
I really enjoyed it, but I'm not really in the leadership position,
Well, you are.
Well, my Bible study group that I lead, but I mean, like in business or anything like that, I don't think I really am. I do real estate and stuff like that, and but I can definitely relate to the overthinking. But to me, like I will look at every single angle and every potential issue that could come up, and then I move forward. Of course, I pray about it, and then, but I do understand the overthinking tendency. Do you think that that's more of a problem with introverts as compared to extroverts?
Definitely, because we want all that information. We want that data, don't we? We want to know all eventualities so that we've got all that data so we can make the right and informed decision. Definitely an issue that introverts have for sure. But as you say, even if you use that kind of reflection time and analyzing all of those kind of different possibilities and eventualities as your reflection time, then can be useful, but it's about identifying when it becomes a hindrance, right? Because overthinking, and in some situations, is a good thing because you're thinking of all the eventualities to help you make that decision, an informed decision. But it's when you're overthinking it so much that you get really burnt out by it. And another example of this was just coming up with my business name. I kind of thought, right, I'm going to do this myself. And I did burn myself out by it because I just couldn't find the right name. And I got to the point where I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I've burned myself out. And then kind of called in some help. But actually, if I'd have done that much sooner, you know, I'd have been further along than where I was at. And I was stopping myself from kind of going down that route. So it's about noticing when it's stopping, when it's hindering you and when it's helping you. So if it's helping you create this great plan of moving forward, all good, carry on. But if it's actually stopping you from moving forward, that's when you've got to notice that and then be like, right, okay, I've got to make a decision now. Let's go with this. Because again, we like to perfect things as well, don't we? We like to not get anything wrong. And yeah, we need to try to stop that as much as possible, because that perfectionism is what leads to that overwhelm, to that procrastination, and it all rolls into one, and that's when we get stuck. So yeah,
I was looking at something last night. I have a lot of hobbies, but one of my hobbies is quilting. And somebody was talking about, I was watching a YouTube video yesterday, and they said done is better than perfect. And I tend, I tend to like want to make sure like that. If it's in the case of like a property I'm going to buy, I make sure I know everything about it, but sometimes it's better just go ahead and go for it. So I do know you're right. You know, sometimes we don't have to have all the details, I guess, just move forward. When you have a pretty good.
I find that too. Sometimes you let perfection get in the way of good enough, and that is another way of just getting stuck. And getting stuck in the inaction. And okay, is it good enough? Let it go, and then you can always make changes and adjustments as you go along.
And just think about how much energy you waste trying to get to that perfection, right? Because they say, don't they, like 80% is good enough, and that extra 20% utilizes probably 80% of your energy levels to get that extra 20%. And actually, how many people notice the 20%? Not many people notice it. So it's about conserving your energy levels as well, and not totally exhausting and overwhelming yourself with that perfectionism.
And for me, if I get that 80% done, like Nicole, you're talking about the what did you call it? The something paralysis.
Analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis. Yes. I like that. But I was thinking, you know, I do that too. And so if I get the 80% finished, like if I don't do the 80%, I'm like stressing about like, oh boy. But then when I go ahead and get that 80% finished, then I can go ahead and fix the 20%. But it's like to get to that 80%, that is a big deal. But yeah, I think it's the analysis paralysis. I love that. I do that. Sure. Yeah.
Does anybody have any practical tips about that though? Like, so with dealing with that perfectionistic tendency and, you know, desiring, where you accept the 80% is good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do we
Sorry, I think you cut out partly there. I didn't hear everything you said.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Any tips on how to practically address that perfectionistic tendency? So it's like, we say, just take the 80% and go with that. But any particular guidance that anyone has on doing that? Because that paralysis is, you know, it's legit, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm trying to get this done, but I need this, and this for it to be perfect. And then those things don't come. So you're just hyper focused on those things. Any practical guidance on that?
So again, it's that kind of, it's noticing it, which I know is difficult when you're in that moment. But even if that was a case of showing it to another person or putting it out there, and you've kind of got to start doing that, I guess, is to just be like, okay, I need all this other information. It hasn't come along, so I'm going to have to put it out as it is and see what happens, right? Because what you'll then find is that nothing bad happens because you didn't get that extra information or that other 20%. And that's when you'll start to learn, oh, right, okay, well, that was fine. But in terms of getting started as well, if you're kind of overthinking because you want to get it right first time, it's about just make a start, even if you just write one sentence, because it's the hardest bit is the starting. Once you start, then you kind of get into that flow a bit more. But yeah, perfectionism is difficult, definitely, to overcome, but it starts with noticing when you're taking it to the nth degree. So it's a case of, right, looking at what you've done, how, and maybe asking yourself those questions. What is that extra information going to give me? Or give the person, whoever it's going to? What, is it stopping? If I put this out as it is without the extra information, is that going to hinder this project in some way? Or is it fine? And if I need that information, it can come later if it comes, but as you say, it may never come. And if it never comes and you never put that work out there, it's almost like you've wasted doing everything that you've currently done because no one's seeing it anyway. So maybe put it out there, see what happens. Even if it is to say, this is what I've got so far. There's more that I'm waiting on, but this is what I've got.
Mm-hmm. Something that helps me when I'm stuck like that, when I'm trying to put everything together and before I put it out there, is just asking for help. Having a trusted group of entrepreneurs that are, they know my business, they know where I'm going, where I want to go, they know the ins and outs of me, and just having that group of people, or just that one person where you can be like, I need help, please help me, and get on a phone call, get on a chat with them, and just spell it out for them. Because I feel like the more that we are in our, especially as entrepreneurs, or when you're working alone, we get inside of our head, and that's when we overthink, and that's when we overanalyze, and that's when we just stop doing everything because we're like, oh, well, whatever, I'm just going to do laundry, I'm going to go for a walk, whatever. And then we never move forward. So this happens to me a lot, where I start a project and then I never finish it because I get another idea. And it really helped me to be in groups with trusted women, especially women who say, okay, you were working on this last week, what happened with that? And I'm like, well, things shifted. And it's like, I don't want to forget about that, but it's just shifted for now. So I don't want to work on that right now, but I'm putting it on the back burner. I'm going to focus on this because this seems like it's rolling, get that momentum going, and, just put it out there. So when I ask for help, that is like the biggest thing that just takes the weight off of you. So yeah. So yeah, this was wonderful. I love our discussion that we've had, the questions that have been brought up. Jill, share how people can find you, and I will put that also in the video comments, so people can find you on your social media or by your website. What's the best way?
Yeah, so social media is probably the best way. So I am on, obviously, LinkedIn, Jill Golledge. I'm on Instagram, the thoughtful.leader. I've got a YouTube channel as well, the Thoughtful Leader. And I think I'm on all socials. I also do have a Facebook group which is called Introverted Ambitious Women. Which, of course, if you want more sort of free tips, etc., on leadership or self-confidence, then you're more than welcome to join that. Or you can kind of I can give you my email address as well, which is jill@thoughtfulleader.global.
Put that in
and my website.
The web.
Yes, I'll put it in the chat. And I was going to say as well, I've got a sort of a free guide on intuition. If anyone is interested, I can put the link to that in the chat. If anyone wants that. But I'll put all of my details in the chat for you. And
Sounds good.
Yeah, get in touch if you want to.
All right. Well, any final words from anyone that wants to share before we close out?
Thank you so much. And thank you for just putting that in my atmosphere, just having a platform that's based on being an introvert. I hadn't thought about that, but introversion is one of my favorite topics.
Oh,
So
nice.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah,
No
glad we were
problem.
able to connect. I think it was in um is it Patty's group? Not Patty.
Peggy's group.
Peggy. I'm like, it's a P
Yeah.
something. Peggy's
Mhm.
group. Yeah, on LinkedIn. Yeah, awesome. Well, ladies, thank you again for being here. Thank you for all your participation. And just to let you know, in July, I will be probably near the Grand Canyon, so I'm going to be canceling the July meeting. So we will meet the third Wednesday in August next time at 12 p.m. Central Time. And I don't have the topic yet. Maybe we'll have a guest speaker. Maybe it'll just be me. So yeah, just stay tuned. I will keep you all informed for August meeting. All right, have a great day. And thank you, Jill, for being here. Thank you for all your info in the chat too. I'll wait just a minute in case you have anything else to share in there. Otherwise, I'll just put it in the YouTube link. All right.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you can put the link if you want to the Facebook group in there, unless you want me
Okay.
to pop it in the chat, whatever.
Yeah, put it in there and then I'll copy and paste
Okay.
everything. Great.
All right, fab. Thank you. Thank you for having me as well. It was lovely to meet you
Ladies.
all.
All right. Bye. Have a good day.